now is the official BC Lions podcast. Matt Baker and Nick Kowalski back with you from the remote Go-Goat Sports studios today. Nick, last week, was poolside in Palm Springs listening to a lot of Sakaris and Price while taking in the scenery, so to speak, but good to be back in the saddle.
Yeah, I was a little jealous of you, to be honest. I saw you chilling by the pool all week, going to the zoo, doing all that stuff. So it looked like a lot of fun out in beautiful California.
Yeah, who wouldn't be jealous of $16 margaritas U.S. prices? They sure know how to get you. Like, you're in the hotel there, and they got you. So why not charge over double figures for like a 14-ounce sugar cocktail? But joking aside, it was lovely. And, first time in that area. Been to several other parts of California, but first time in Palm Springs / Palm Desert. And kind of a lull in the schedule. We are going to talk to Solomon Elimimian, continue our Alumni Series. Solly, while I was down there, we sent it out that he is included in the 2023 Canadian Football Hall of Fame class. So we're going to have a great discussion with him, one of our all-time favorites to wear the colors. But Nick, we were kind of talking about this. It is kind of there's never really a dead time, but Neil McAvoy, Rick Campbell this week at the CFL Combine in Edmonton. So I know they were speaking this week about having a first-round draft pick right now, 7th overall. Might change their priorities as far as their draft board. Of course, the Jordan Williams trade making that happen. But really, when it comes to pure football news, it is kind of a bit of a break. I know we've announced a couple of American defensive backs in the last 10, 12 days or so. Who knows where those guys fit in on the roster. Elijah Benton is a guy who has training camp experience, regular season experience, really, with the Cleveland Browns. Najee Reams, another one, most recently in the XFL. So that's always the intriguing part of it, seeing where these guys might fit in. And I know you're like your defensive backs as well. So, but it's shaping up, the roster. We're almost there. We're going to add some draft picks here in a few weeks, and that's when it really starts to feel real, my friend.
Oh, for sure. And I was telling you this earlier that right now you see 2 new defensive backs pop up on the roster, but now that it's our second or my second year or go around having all access to a training camp last year, I know right off the bat we were looking at our depth charts, our roster sheets, being like, who's that number 33 that's flying around? Who's that number 36? And then next thing you know, it's Emmanuel Ragamba, Quincy Moget. So maybe in May we'll be looking at who's this number so-and-so flying around the field, and it's Elijah Benton. So you trust the process that our scouting system brings these guys in and find some diamond in the roughs and go from there.
Yeah, and once you see it on the field, which we will in about less than 2 months away now, veterans will report to Hillside Stadium on May the 13th. I think it is the Saturday. It's always like a Saturday opening night, opening dinner, and then it's on Sunday morning on the field. Rookies just before that, May 10, 11, and 12. We will have the training camp schedule posted coming up here in mid-April, usually about a month out. We announce that. We roll that out. So very much exciting to be back in Kamloops yet again. And hey, another one of those unknowns, quote unquote. Solomon Elimimian would have been in Kamloops? I think 2011 might have been the first year of Kamloops. Might have been 2000. I'm getting these all kind of lumped together for me now. Solly might have done one in Abbotsford before Kamloops, but might have to fact check that. Great place to be, and it's exciting. So we're going to plan to spend a lot of time with Solomon Elimimian, so we won't delay that much further. We'll be back on the other side of the interview to talk about a couple of more items that we are working on. So without further ado, we will bring in number 56, Solomon Elimimian. And it is now our great pleasure to have the soon to be minted Canadian Football League Hall of Famer. Those inductions will take place as per usual in September in Hamilton. Solomon Elimimian joins us now. And we've been lucky to be in Hamilton for the Hall of Fame game at least once. It is quite the spectacle. But Solly joins us. Congratulations, sir. And yeah, what went through your mind when you first got the call? It was Wally himself that informed you, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Wally called me, just gave me a heads up, called me early morning and said, "Hey, Solomon, congratulations. Glad to tell you that you have been, nominated to be inducted to the Hall of Fame for the 2023 class." And obviously, I was excited. I was working out, and it was for sure exciting. I was surprised, and definitely thankful to get the call.
Now, obviously, the reaction, it's been pretty much just about a week uh, to the day of this recording. What kind of reaction, anyone surprise you as far as all the people that reached out to congratulate you? What were some of the highlights there?
Well, yeah, just that, the outpouring from family and friends and so many people that I've crossed paths with, in my life, not just in my career, reached out to me. Friends from high school, friends from middle school, reached out to me just to congratulate me on a outstanding accomplishment to be Hall of Fame. But it really didn't hit me till I spoke to my folks. I told my folks, and that's when it kind of hit me how proud they were of me. How much how emotionally challenging it was. Obviously, the support that they gave me for so many years playing professional, sports, all the injuries I went through, I just know how much of how much impact it had on my family being there for me. And that's kind of when it hit me when they, said that they were proud of me and, specifically talked to my dad and he said, you make me proud as a son. That's kind of, the highlight moment for me. My older brother, who's really coached me all my life, who's coaching at the University of Hawaii, just called me, said, job well done. You did it. So it was definitely, definitely overwhelming for sure.
When it comes to the relationship you had with Coach Wally Buono, I was reading an article posted on CFL.ca about a quote you had where you said the first 3 or 4 years we probably didn't like each other, but then once you won that Most Outstanding Player award, it turned into more of a father-son relationship. Can you just describe those first 3 years with Wally, and then obviously the year that you had, how it changed that relationship in 2014?
Yeah, Wally is a father figure, and for so many years, we had our, I would say, contentious relationship for sure. Obviously, Wally worked me out at my tryout in LA, and it was in LA, so we worked out, and he said, "Yep, you have some, you have something there. Um, not as fast as we would like." He said, you know, "There's another workout in Vegas 6 weeks later. Come on out to that, and we'll see what's what." So I obviously prepared for it. I kept calling Wally and texting Neil, and after the Vegas workout, nothing right away, but I kept bugging them, and they finally gave me a contract to come to Canada. And I just think that he just got tired of me pestering him. And for the first few years, our relationship was contentious for sure. Remember my first training camp, had a really good week. Unfortunately, I tweaked my hamstring, and I'm in a training room trying to rehab my leg. Wally walks in the training room, and the time our head trainer was Bill Rochelle, and I'm there, getting treatment, and Wally, walks up and talks to Billy. He said, "Hey, Billy, tell number 56," or he said, "Tell Solomon if he doesn't, play this game, he's going home." And he walks right out, and I look at Billy. Billy looks at me, and I tell Billy, "I guess I got to play this game," and just wrap my leg up, go out there, and do the best I can. And he was just hard on me. He was hard on me, and in his mind, he was going to do whatever it took for him to get the most of me. And I think he did that. I would say that's Wally's biggest talent in my mind is being able to get the most out of guys, being able to motivate guys. And I'm a highly motivated individual. So when you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to take that in stride, and I'm going to prove you wrong. And once I won the MOP in 2014, I would say, the relationship, solidified, the relationship changed for sure. And, it was kind of like, you proved yourself. You were able to prove yourself. And obviously there was concerns that I couldn't stay healthy. There was concerns that, yep, I had a lot of potential, but could I put it all together? And I was able to finally do that in 2014 when I won MOP for sure. So Wally's one of the, I would say, top, people in my life in terms of influential people in my life. Was able to motivate me in different ways, and just a great head coach and a great man. Somebody that you look up to for sure.
Is that when you talk about having to pretty much ask again for even to get a shot in training camp in 2010? Was that something you were comfortable doing back then, or is that something you really had to kind of step out of your element zone and have the mindset of you miss 100% of the shots you don't take?
Nah, it was something that I was comfortable doing. Coming out of high school, Crenshaw High School, I had a lot of Pac-10 at the time. It was Pac-10 conference. I had a lot of universities just say, I wasn't big enough, and scholarships weren't being offered. And I only had one scholarship, and that was to University of Hawaii. Obviously, my older brother went there, so I followed in his footsteps. But it's something I always had to do. Something that I always had to prove, scratch and claw my way, just to get an opportunity. And that's all I ask is give me an opportunity. And even to this day, one of the things that Wally brings up at that time in 2010 was I flat out told him, I said, if you give me a contract, I promise you won't regret it. And he still reminds me about that, what I told him that day. And that's just, who I am. I just want an opportunity to prove, myself right. And, that's always been my life. I've always had to work hard for everything that I've been given. And I just say to myself, as long as I have an opportunity, I'm gonna make the most of it. So it was something I was definitely comfortable doing. Was no shame at all, and I knew that if I was able to get a contract with BC Lions, that I would be able to, reach my goals and make my dreams come true, and really get out the house, get out my parents' house. Really, that's really what I wanted to do. I didn't have a plan B, and quite frankly, I didn't want a plan B. It was play professional football, and I was going to do everything it took to get there.
Back in 2010 too, I'm curious to know, what did you know about the CFL heading into it? Were you familiar with the league and the teams and even the style of the game that's much different than down in America, or what was your knowledge coming into that camp?
Yeah, so 2009, I was on the Buffalo Bills. I get cut, released there, and pretty much for the whole rest of the year, I just train, I work out, and in my mind, I'm going to get another chance. I don't know where. I don't know if it's going to be NFL, and I didn't know much of Canada. And obviously, my phone stopped ringing, and my older brother Abe, he says, "Hey, listen, there's a Canadian Football League. They have a workout. Why don't you go and see what's about?" Right? I didn't know much about it, but once I kind of committed to it and said, "Okay, there's another opportunity to become a professional athlete," um, I delved into it. I put my all into it, right? And um, obviously, it worked out really well. Canada is a fantastic country. The CFL is a league of, great opportunity. It's enriched my life, and I'm fortunate that I got an opportunity to play in Canada, play, with the BC Lions, and obviously in my career with the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Solly, you hit on it briefly. 2014, you make history. First defensive guy to win MOP. Unheard of. Might not ever happen again. But you had some bumpy stops along the way, along the road. The year after, you tear your Achilles in Hamilton, low point of your career. Take us through that process. Was there ever a time when you were coming back, rehabbing, saying, you know what, is this worth it? Because you came back and performed at your elite level again. What was that like? That must have been an eye opener for you, that whole thing.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster, and even 2013, I was a West Division All Star, but unfortunately, I missed the playoff game that we lost to Saskatchewan in, and there were some concerns that I couldn't stay healthy, and I was actually on a trade block in the beginning of 2014, the off season of 2014, leading up to the 2014 season, and I was close to being traded that year. And I remember going upstairs. My agent called me and said, "Hey, Sal, you on the trade block? Wally wants to have a talk with you." So I go upstairs. I talk to Wally, and I'll never forget. He says, "Well, we have concerns about you staying healthy, but Mike Benavides feels like he wants to build the defense around you. That's one thing I love about Wally. He's going to give you the honest answer. And I got to thank Coach Benny for just the support and the confidence there. Um, and it motivated me tremendously. I was going to prove myself right, and I had a fantastic year in 2014. And then once 2014 ended, unfortunately, 2015 comes, and I trained my butt off all offseason. I'm going to do it again, and unfortunately, I had a setback. I tore my Achilles, and it was in Hamilton. And I remember maybe a day after, I'm reading the newspaper, the sports section, and it kind of reads that obviously Achilles injuries are are tough injuries to come back from, and a lot of players don't come back from it. So it kind of gave me a chip on my shoulder, and I remember reading that article, just pissed off, and here I was, a year removed from being the most outstanding player, being the best player in the CFL, and I just knew I had to prove myself again, right? And I remember how the article made me feel, and in my mind, I was gonna get back to the status I was before. And all offseason, I trained. I went back to LA, and my mom said, "Look, Saul, you got one job. Don't worry about anything else. One job: just get healthy, rehab, and have faith in God. And you know what? You'll be where He wants you to be. You'll be back on top." And I remember how tough it was. Every day, I would go drive to Carson on that 405 freeway, and I would rehab every day. And I remember my trainer at the time, she would always, go through the rehab process, and she would say, "All right, Saul, look, we had a solid day today. I don't want you doing anything extra, okay? Like, what the rest factor is part of the rehab, okay? So your body needs time to rest." And I would just smirk and nod my head. And when I get back home, I take a little nap, eat some food, and I would go working out again, whether it's running some hills, doing some stairs, because in my mind, I just knew that I had to stress the body, and I didn't want no setbacks for the 2016 year. But, when I think back of all the accomplishments I was able to receive, and you finally are able to, sit back and um, reflect. It is those times. It's the times when you didn't have a job. It's the times where you tore your Achilles. There's times where folks said that you weren't able to accomplish something. That's what makes me proud, and that's why I tell young guys that's what winning is. It's the accomplishments is just a validation of the work that you put in. Winning is being able to overcome any situation um, that's tough, any situation that's challenging. That's winning. And football is beautiful because that's life. You have issues with your family, your friends, your job. You go through things in life. That's we all do, right? But being able to win is being able to dig inside when it feels uncomfortable, and being able to overcome those challenges, right? And that's what I'm proud about. From that 2015 experience was I blew out my Achilles, and I had to look deep inside, and I thank God for giving me the faith to be able to overcome. To thank God for putting the folks in my life, family that supported me to be able to overcome, and really it's a beautiful thing.
And so you come back 2016 and you win a second outstanding defensive award. And I'll never forget, that was my first year working with this team, and the first road game the team had that year was in Hamilton in week 2, the same place where you'd gotten injured. And I remember interviewing after for bclines.com, and you were emotional. It was the same spot, and I think you led the team with tackles that night. You had a big forced fumble. You left Hamilton off the scoreboard other than just a field goal. I think we won 28-3. Just getting back and knowing that you were able to do it. Obviously, I saw it firsthand. That was really emotional for you.
Yeah, yeah. Just because that whole year was emotional. You got to understand. In 2014, once I won the Most Outstanding Player award, Most Outstanding Defense Player award, being close to being traded, right, and being able to put everything together, you feel like you're on top of the world, right? And then you have this setback, um, you know, a big setback where you tear your Achilles and you miss the whole 2015 year, and you have people asking, could you do it again? You had, you know, people on the team question whether you're going to be able to even be healthy to start the season off, right? And renegotiating your contract. That was something that I had to do, renegotiate my contract. And so it was emotional when I was able to get back on the field. Definitely a blessing. And, I would say that it's just my biggest attribute. Like, you can measure my size, you can measure my speed, but you can't measure my will. And I think that's one thing that's set me apart from many players is my will to overcome, my will to persevere. I'm highly motivated, individual, and you have to have will. You have to have a mental fortitude that, you know, besides what you're able to see, besides the obstacles you're able to overcome, and have that will to push you over the top. So 2016 was an emotional year, and obviously winning, getting back and winning Defense Player of the Year was just a testament to just having faith, believing in God, and having good people around you, good coaches, great teammates, but a family structure that really supports you through thick and thin.
That 2016 season and the following one too in 2017, you put up those crazy numbers in tackles: 129 in 2016, 143 in 2017. So playing the full 18 games as well. When you're making that many plays throughout an entire season, was there something different in those years that you were doing to stay healthy, make sure you're not getting injured, or just
Yeah.
keeping that pace throughout the whole season?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously the game slows down. Um, you know, I played the game, for many years at that point, so I was at my peak physically, but mentally the game just slowed down. And obviously, I was in pretty much the same defense for a while on the same team, Mike Benavides, but also Mark Washington under them. So I kind of knew the defense, and I put so much work into the film session to be able to understand what offenses were trying to do and how offenses would try to attack our defense. That's one of the keys that you're able to study is not what offense might want to do or how they want to put points up, but self scouting. What do they see in you on the defense or see you as a player? How may they try to attack you, or what weaknesses do they think that they see in your defense, right? So all those things came together. Obviously, my work ethic, off season, I'm dialed in, right? There is no second job. It's really just wake up and train and get ready for the season. So, um, you know, it was a special time for sure. Just being able to put together back to back solid seasons. It's tough, right? It's CFL, right? You're playing 18 games and you play linebacker where physicality is a must, right? And it's not easy for sure, but it's something you love doing. And like I said, you put the work in the off season, and it definitely pays off.
You're also someone who has a ton of personal awards throughout your CFL career, but you got the big one too. That's a team award in 2011, being the Grey Cup championship with the Lions. After that win, do you remember some of the thoughts or some of the memories that you have that you could share about that championship win?
Yeah, that was a special year. Really special guys, a group of guys. Everything came together. It's like making that perfect meal, right? That perfect lasagna, perfect steak, and it's all the ingredients just kind of come together. Everything is ripe, everything is seasoned, and the beautiful part about that season it was we started off 0-5. I think we went 1-6. We made a couple trades, um, and actually it was something funny. I think we lose to Edmonton, and after the game, we're down, and Wally comes in. Wally says, "Hey guys, have we hit rock bottom yet?" And the guys say, "No, we haven't, coach." And Wally slams his hand on the table. He says, "Yes, we've hit rock bottom." And he says, "Guys, you know why we've hit rock bottom?" And everybody, doesn't want to answer because you're always wrong when Wally asks a question. Obviously, that's Wally's thing. And he says the reason why is because if you hit rock bottom, the only way to go is up. And everyone looked around like, yeah, that makes sense, right? And we made a couple trades, and I think we were able to win 12 of our next 13 games. And I've never been on a team where we were so focused, we were so loose. It felt like practice really did. We came into games, knowing that we were going to win. The only question was, how many points are we going to win by? The confidence throughout the team was something you really could feel. And it was a no-brainer in our minds that we were going to win the Grey Cup that year, well before we went into the playoffs. So, like I said, everything came together. Veteran group of guys, great group of guys, bought into team concept. fantastic coaching, and it was the second year of my career. And here I am thinking like we're going to get back every single year. Like, no team can beat us, and we were really stacked. And one thing that I do regret is the fact that I didn't enjoy it more. When you win the Grey Cup the second year of your career, you kind of take it for granted because you feel like, okay, well, it's his second year. I got maybe 8, 10 more years to play left, so we'll get to 3 or 4 other ones. But it's special winning a Grey Cup. You got to come together at the right time. You got to gel. You need guys to be really selfless and care about each other and love each other. And when it happens, it's a beautiful thing. So that was definitely one of the top memories that I have in the Canadian Football League.
Of the moments that you did enjoy that win in 2011, is there one like maybe event with your teammates that sticks out?
There's a few of them. It's a few of them. It's a few of them. It's the pregame, right? I just remember before the games, the locker room, how loose it was. Guys were playing cards before a football game. Like guys would get in there, 2, 3 hours before a football game, and we're playing cards. It's just the atmosphere. Like you would think that we would be getting ready to go practice because that's what guys do. They loosen up. Usually before a game, everyone's kind of focused in the zone, warming up. Everybody's doing their own thing. But that year, I would say that you come in the locker room and you would think we were having a party. Guys is rapping, playing cards, telling jokes. It was an outstanding atmosphere. So I would say, obviously, that was something that I remember vividly, and yeah, it was definitely a special year.
Well, Solly, a lot of special moments, and lo and behold, the induction ceremony, where else would it be? Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton. When the day comes and you finally get to see your bust, and you're going to be surrounded by your fellow induction class, including John Bowman, who I know and respect very well. Dealing with the CFLPA stuff with him, of course, as well as football. What's going to go through your mind when the moment is finally there a few months from now?
Well, definitely making sure that John makes weight. We've been texting back and forth, and we motivate each other. I'm like, John, now look, we gotta get you right. You got to be in that suit, looking like you played, not looking like you played, 20 years ago. So that's something we joke about all the time. But honestly, it's just being, you know, inducted and being around obviously great players. Players that made impacts in the Canadian Football League, a storied professional league over 100 years. Just being inducted alongside those guys will be a great moment. But for me personally, it's just to really appreciate my family. I'm gonna have my family up there, and I told everybody, hey, listen, I want you guys all up there, and just really appreciate them for what they were able to do because I couldn't have accomplished this without them. There was times when you know I was going through it, and they supported me through thick and thin. So it's really just appreciation of my family and also my friends and my coaches that helped me get there. So I'm sure I'll be emotional. I'm not an emotional guy, but making making people happy brings me joy, right? Especially the people that had your back, right? Those people had my back, and I want to make them happy. And seeing the joy on their face is going to be everything, all the celebration, all the joy, you know, that I'll need.
Very well said. Listen, congratulations again. I know you've done a few of these already, well earned, and perhaps we'll talk to you again once the day is officially here. Solomon Elimimian, one of the best to ever suit up, number 56, and I'm sure there'll be more honors for you down the road here, but this obviously the pinnacle. Solly, thank you, sir, again, and congratulations.
Matt, Nick, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Take care.
Congratulations.
Thanks again to Solomon Elimimian, and such an inspiration, great career, one of the better players and people, really, Nick, to suit up for the franchise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I watched him throughout my teenage years, just a menace on the field. I know I bet behind closed doors and closed meeting rooms there were players and coaches saying, I am terrified of number 56 in orange for this week, and we have no plan to stop this guy from running running right through us and running sideline to sideline to break up all kinds of plays. And he was a fantastic player, well-deserved first ballot Hall of Famer, and just such a decorated career. And it's great to see that he got the big one too in a Grey Cup, which is kind of did it all in the CFL.
Yeah, the Lions all-time leading tackles leader. We talked about the 2011 Grey Cup. Member of the CFL's all-decade team. Remember when they when they rolled that out as part of those virtual Grey Cup celebrations in 2010? That was a pretty fun time to be working in the Canadian Football League, but at least we managed to do some celebrations that year. And he hit on it. He was injured in that 2013 playoff game. That's a loss as a fan I'll never get over. That was the year they were in Saskatchewan for the Western Semi and were pretty much leading the whole game, and then just couldn't stop Darian Durant, mobile quarterback, in the end. And remember what happened. Saskatchewan then went on to upset Calgary, and then back home at Taylor Field after that, winning the Grey Cup over Hamilton. There are, as great as 2011 was, there's a couple of what-if years in there. 2013 is one. 2012, you can argue the 2012 Lions were better than the 2011 team. Win-loss record for sure, but that's the thing with football. You have one bad day in November, you're toast, and that's what happened in the West Final against Calgary that year. But congrats to Solly. Congrats to Larry Crawford. This one for me, Nick, my first reaction was, why wasn't he in already? The Lions' all-time leader in interceptions and punt return yards. He was, again, 85 Grey Cup champion, but they could have easily won one or two more in that decade. But we'll focus on the good. Suited up in 3 Grey Cups, 83, 85, then again in 88. Only 11 players did that. Doing my research, I was looking at that, digging way deep into our history documents, which every once in a while come in handy. Spoke with him. You can see that written piece at bclions.com. The father of Mariners, of J.P. Crawford of the Mariners, and J.P. engaged a little bit with us when we made that announcement and posted that story. So a nice, cool little tie-in there. That's a guy I never saw play. Certainly you didn't see play. You weren't even born yet in the 80s, but a lot of studs on those teams.
Well, I was just going to say, part of my job with Larry Crawford was digging up his highlights from the 80s, and that meant the access I had was to watch full games from the 80s and kind of track it by the play-by-play box score stats that Larry L. Crawford was deemed. But I was watching a lot of full 83 games, skimming through them, and that secondary was super talented. They were picking off guys left and right. It was funny. There was a couple of clips I pulled where Larry Crawford had picked off John Hufnagel as Saskatchewan's quarterback. Yeah. And that same season later in the year, Hufnagel was in Winnipeg, and it was Crawford again picking him off. But there was also number 17 that stood out on that team, Kerry Parker. He was another guy. I just found that he was getting all these interceptions too. So it was cool watching those teams back then.
Yeah, they had guys like Keith Gooch and Tyrone Cruz in that secondary. Of course, the defense up front included the likes of the late Rick Klassen, Nick Hebler, who we still see out at the odd event. Usually see him at the Wall of Fame celebration banquet in July, August. We usually do that. Stay tuned for that, by the way. Some exciting figures going into the Lions Wall of Fame this year that maybe we'll talk about in a couple of weeks from now. But yeah, well earned. And we didn't get to go there last year, but Hamilton, Tim Hortons Field, I always make a point, Nick, of going up to the club suite level, which is where the Hall of Fame is now located. The busts are in there, and walking through 2021 Grey Cup, I actually watched the game up there with Moj. That's another story for another day, having to take turns going to get beverages while the other stayed and guarded our spot at the window, which had a view at midfield. But 2019 regular season, I went up there just to look around, and it was cool seeing all the busts. Doug Flutie, David Braley was up there, Louis Pasaglia, of course, and we talked about this with Paul McCallum in our first Alumni Series. the bust. He liked getting a look at his bust, and we'll get to go see his there when we're there in October. Last road game of the year. See, it's taken quite a bit of time to get back to Hamilton, but we're hoping to go there again in November. It's funny. A lot of memories for me in this job have happened in Hamilton. Talked about Solly's big return in 2016, Travis Lulay's career night the next year when Jonathan Jennings got hurt, and an infamous logo dancing incident, which I'm sure a lot of our listeners might remember. We won't get into that. Good and bad, and hoping for some more good.
Fun story about that logo incident. I believe we were on the bus in Ottawa last year, and Nathan Rourke had no idea of its existence. So
Right.
The culprit of that video was didn't want it to be seen, but I think it was Mr. Pearson who ended up pulling it up and showing Nathan Rourke and educating him on what happened that in that situation. Which
was David
a funny
Mackey.
memory.
You can say his name.
Yeah, Mackey. Yeah, Mackey didn't want it
Yeah.
to be shown, but Pearson pulled it up to show Nathan.
Well, how did that come up in conversation? I'm curious.
Good question.
Yeah, that was not my finest moment, and I'm serious, like, because the team just got their asses kicked, and a lot of people tried fabricating the story that the reason the result was the way it was because of that. Now, I'm not denying some of those Tie-Cap players were motivated by it, but if that's what you need to get motivated, then you're in the wrong business, I think. But hey, no such publicity as bad publicity. And it's funny, Dane Evans, we did a little Zoom press conference with him after the trade, and God love him, it was Moj asked him about that. And Dane's response was, yeah, I mean, the thing I remember most about that game, I actually got to play in that game, because remember, it got so out of hand, and fourth quarter they're pulling their starters, and so we had a little bit of fun with that, and that was not fun for me. Like, we're flying home after that game, and players were coming up to me cursing at me, why the hell did you post that? And it's, yeah, right, sorry. Like, it's done.
In your defense, I know it's a little different being at the midfield logo of an opposing team, but I've noticed that in football, in hockey, for example, any sort of logo you do not step over. But in football, I think that's not as much.
Oh, that's just
as
like
in other sports.
It depends who you talk to. Yeah, like I think I've seen people in NHL dressing rooms, like specifically the visiting room at Rogers Arena. Some teams bring their logo. It's like a carpet of logo, and they put it in the middle. And I've seen media members get cussed out for they're just walking, like they're going like from one stall to another. But and yeah, honestly, like like we're talking about it, the culprit we're talking about. I think you still see that once in a while, where with this team too, you make the rookies dance, and for some reason, and that's what people took wrong from it too. It wasn't a deliberate effort to stomp on the logo. He just happened to be dancing on it, and
yeah,
I was filming
wasn't the
it.
Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, it's certainly. It certainly escalated into something quickly, but and yeah, like I said, was not my finest moment on the job. But hey, I'm still here, and others aren't still here. We'll leave it at that. This was a great time. We'll defer you to bclions.com. We've talked about the Larry Crawford feature. Stephen Chang is going to be working on some stuff with Jordan Herdman-Reed. Good guy is back. And he also did a 5 things to know with our global pick signed John Levi Cruza. We're going to be relaunching Arrow Up in a couple of weeks' time, document some of the free agent stuff and the quarterback change, and potentially some Vernon Adams Jr. home content coming to Nick. So we'll invite fans to stay tuned for that.
Yeah, exciting stuff to come. Our marketing day is also next week, which is exciting. So we're getting all the guys in town to do some photo shoots and all of that. And later in April, we will be going to fully document Vernon Adams BC Lions camp, which is pretty much a 7-on-7 camp with all of the receivers, all of the defensive backs, some extra guys coming out too. So really looking forward to that coming up later this month or later in April.
Yeah, there you go. Well said. Thanks to Nick. Thanks to Solomon Elimimian for joining us. Be back next week with another alumni guest to be determined, and we encourage you to check it out. Slowly but surely, football season is here. The podcast is on Twitter at First and Now. Subscribe, rate, leave a review on your favorite platform. I am at Bakes Takes 84. He is at Nick_Kowalski. Nick with a K only, _Kowalski, the regular Eastern European spelling. And we will be back next week. First and Now, the official Lions podcast.